So the church is the backbone of our community. And we all know that our communities, as we really think about where we are and how we want to help everyone, most people will always turn to the church. Always turn to church, and in the church we get prayer. And then of course we know that there's wellness ministries, the missionaries, the deacons, the pastors, the bishops, they're all there to support us. So, and we're all here to support one another. So we want this to springboard so many different happy, healthy hours, health crises in the church all over the world. But know that it starts at home. And right here in the church is where it all ends and it all begins. So when you really begin to think about that and understand it, then we know that if a person has a dream that's big enough, it's going to continue to grow. And that dream is growing here with our featured speaker tonight, Dr. Joel Wallach. And so when you begin to think about that and understand it, then we realize that we have someone that truly does and is making a difference. Now, if you don't believe me when I say this, then I'm going to just digress a moment and ask someone that's on the call that really got his church together, and many members on this call tonight, because as he texts us, he says, we are fired up and we are ready to go. And he believes in the mission to stop human suffering, physically as well as financially. And so we're going to start with him tonight. And then hopefully we will have what we need to get done with the presentation ready to go. So I know he's on. You think Bishop Matthews is on?
I heard him from
all the way from
the great state of North Carolina.
All the way. So he's been involved with Youngevity for quite a few years now.
We looked it up and it's since 2012.
Wow. So why don't we hear from him right now? Let's see if I can go back. And we can definitely hear from him if we can put him on screen. Bishop, are you out there? I know we heard him earlier.
Okay, can you see me?
I think so. There you are.
Okay.
So let's put the spot on Bishop, guys.
All right.
All right. Well, God bless you all. It is good to be with y'all on this evening. And of course, I am thankful to God. He has blessed us to have the opportunity that we're going to have tonight. We're going to have a great opportunity tonight here to hear someone who is really going to be a blessing to everybody who tunes in to hear. Amen. You know, it's like the word of God tells us what the Spirit says to the church, but God uses all of these great people that he's placed upon this earth to bless us. And I got a blessing, amen. I got a true blessing way back, amen. Before I got the chance to really join in back in 2012, I was diagnosed, of course, with a thyroid condition. And I had a goiter that reached out really out to the side of my neck and couldn't button my shirt, had a really hard time doing what I needed to do. And it was really tough for me. And of course, when I went to my physician, he told me, guess what? He said, no problem. We can fix that. We can cut it out. We'll go ahead and take it out and you won't have no problem at all. And all will be well with you. And I had been suffering this for a while. And believe it or not, I have a dear friend by the name of Hill Rouse. And of course, we worked together on many areas and many facets here in North Carolina. I like to come. He came, and of course, we did it. It was great. It was a wonderful opportunity. But Dr. Wallach said something to me, and we talked. I mean, he was very personal, and that's what I loved about him. He really just talked straight to me, and I told him everything the doctor said, and he said, you know what, Brother Matthews, I'll tell you what you need to do. He said, I got something you can take, and you won't have to get that surgery. You won't have to go through that. And he gave me a product, and I'm gonna mind tell you, it's called Ocean's Gold. And I took this product that he had, and I mean, the goiter left. I didn't have to go through no surgery. I mean, and look, let me tell you what else I did. When I got into the program, by the grace of God, I ran into Z Radical. Not only just the liquid, but Fucoid Z tablet. And I had one of the members of the church who had been going through cancer and had a cancer diagnosis and was actually going in for some treatment. And I introduced it to him and put him on the Fucoid Z. And matter of fact, they called me back and said, you know what? Every day, Pastor, I get Z'd up. I drink my Fucoid. I drink liquid. I get Z'd up every day. And I never lost my hair. I never, everything kept sustaining me. We have had nothing but a great opportunity of being, first of all, brought in through our overhead, Hilda Rouse, and meeting, amen, this great man that we're going to hear tonight. And we're waiting to hear what he has to share with us, amen, from Dr. Wallach. And it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful. It's been powerful. And for everybody who's on tonight, if somebody out there who don't believe, you just, for some reason, you don't understand what is possible, let me tell you, it's possible. It is possible. I'm living a great life. I'm very healthy. Man, look, and nobody can tell you more about this Z-article than my wife. Now, my wife, she stands on it, stands by it. And that's the beautiful thing about it. So we are thankful to God that he's blessed us. And I'm just glad to have a moment just to share that with you. And I hope that it'll bless somebody tonight, because I'm telling you, this great man, that's what I'm going to call him. He's a great man. God bless us to have blessed me. And I'm in turn blessing you to tell you, we got a great treat coming tonight to hear from somebody who can share with us the things that we need to know. So I hope you stay, find up in your mind, get excited about this, because it's an exciting moment for all of us to hear tonight.
All right, fantastic.
Pastor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming all the way from the great state of North Carolina, of course, my home state. Pastor, we remember meeting you 12 years ago, and we remember that testimony that you got, and we've been sharing that around the world ever since. So thank you. Hopefully your story will be a blessing to people, to somebody or to somebody's tonight. Thank you.
And guys, we are not making any medical claims. But what we are here to tell you is that when you give your body the proper nutritional building blocks, it will heal itself. And that was Bishop's personal story. And guys, as he said, it all started with the one man, the speaker for this evening, Dr. Joel Wallach. You see, we normally have him in Sugar Land, Texas, Houston, Texas, for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day every year. Well, we know that with what's going on with the pandemic, that didn't happen this year. But so we're doing it tonight. And we want you to know that Dr. Wallach, as he says, he's carrying on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's dream, regarding health and the health equity, if you will. We know that our health is our greatest wealth. We know that the mission is to stop human suffering physically, emotionally, and financially. And you can see Dr. Wallach here. He is an author. He's written many books. This is just one that he holds in his hands here, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And plus he has a CD of the best of dead doctors. So he is someone that we definitely are very, very proud to be a part of as we go out, and we are the foot soldiers to carry on this message. And today you're going to hear from him as well as some others. And as we look back and we think about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and just the fact that he just wanted everyone to realize, from civil rights to your health, that there has to be, that we all should, but we've got to realize we've got to put the right stuff in our bodies. So Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had foot soldiers. And some of those foot soldiers, Dr. Wallach had an opportunity to really walk with. One just so happens to be Andrew Young, as you can see here in this picture. And I believe there was a story, and I don't know the whole one, so I can't give it word by word, but I believe Andrew Young had something going on with his knee.
Both knees. He was going to have both of his knees replaced.
So that was it. And guess there was this doctor, Joel Wallach, that seemed to help him with that.
Yes.
He didn't have to go through that surgery.
Yes. Maybe he'll tell us that story.
I think Dr. Wallach just may. All right. And then, you know, oh my God, Martin Luther King III. You remember that last, that Million Man March that Coretta Scott King wanted to walk in? Well, our very own Dr. Joel Wallach helped her to do that. And this is her son, Martin Luther King III, along there with Dr. Wallach, as well as with an attorney, the attorney for Youngevity, Jonathan Emord. And so that's what we have in our hands, guys. We have someone that's truly interested in making a difference. But then there was this event that happened in North Carolina.
Yes, the great state of North Carolina.
In Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Yes.
In fact, that's when we met Bishop Matthews.
Exactly.
And his sponsor, Hilda Rouse, is who made this happen.
And you know, from that day to this day, this is the largest meeting ever held amongst the Majestic Eagles. They went to work in that particular weekend, Martin Luther King weekend. Hilda Rouse and Bishop got together, put their heads together and said, everybody needs to hear this. In the church, out of the church, everyone needs to hear this man's story. And with that, they had 843 people to show up that weekend. And we're so proud that, you know, and the thing about it is not the number of people per se, but all of the lives that they changed that weekend. It's like that ripple effect that you throw the rock in the middle of the lake and that ripple effect. And that's been 12 years ago, and people are still taking the products and lives are still being changed because it started that domino effect where people would tell people and people would get healthy, from children to the most senior of us.
That's exactly right. Right there in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And they did a special article on it, and it was absolutely amazing. So, you know, Dr. Wallach has, my God, he's just been all over, just continues to bless people. And you know what? The story continues. There he is with Mike Freeman, Dr. Mike Freeman, and talking about health equity and that we must take our health into our own hands. And it just continues. Yep, it goes to celebrities, to the MBAs. Just you can see him here speaking and just talking with them there. And then he actually did a lecture with them to talk to them about nutrition, believe it or not.
At the National Basketball Players Association.
Absolutely amazing. And you know what? And guys, it continues to go. He is such someone that continues to share the message. I think many of you remember when he was on Benny Hinn. And he actually, you know, they talk about him putting his hand on a stack of Bibles and said that he was telling the truth as far as helping people. And so it continues to grow. And we know that the word continues to get out in so many ways by the simple folks like you and me. And here we are today. The community still grows, regardless of where we are. And these are just some of the foot soldiers that Dr. Wallach has right here. So you think about it. I know someone standing out there now, Ken, is going, yep, that's me. And then, you know, you look at all the others, Ovita and all of these folks that are sharing the time with Dr. Wallach just to say thank you for all that you do. Now, Dr. Wallach, here's someone that you're here with now in this picture. He absolutely adopted something that you say all the time. And it's 3 letters and it goes something like, bam. So that's who he is. So, you know, and then you can see Dr. Milan, you know what, beside every successful man, there is a successful woman.
Absolutely.
Right? Absolutely. So there's Dr. Milan, guys. We just want to give her due as well because she shares all of us. If you ever get an opportunity just to reach out to her, just say thank you to her for all that she's doing for us as well. And then we continue to just go with some other health soldiers. This is when we were basically in New York with Dr. Wallach. And this was here in Houston at a restaurant where he came to speak. And, you know, and there with Francis, and there he is with June. And it continues to just grow. And just recently, in the Hall of Fame is Drew Pearson.
Just inducted last weekend.
Just inducted. And he is a foot soldier for Dr. Wallach. So guys, it does not stop. it continues to grow. And that's why the health crisis in the church will continue to be something that we will always be a part of. And he's just here with us last year, and this was at the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. event that we had. And Dr. E is in that picture. And I know I missed some others when I didn't call your name in your pictures, but you saw your faces out there. So the dream continues. The dream continues. And we will say to each and every one of you that we are so blessed to have in our midst tonight someone who is always working. I don't think the man sleeps, but maybe 2 hours, 3 hours a night.
I don't see how he gets everything done.
And he just continues to go and keeps going. He's a mature man, a much mature man, mature than most of us on this call. And he has more energy than most of us on this call. And if he's not tired yet, that means that we're not tired yet. We've got a whole lot to do. You know, there's someone that's on the call tonight that actually understands what and how Dr. Wallach has helped her. So Wendy, would you be able to share your story at this time?
Hi, I'm Wendy Digo from Canada. And when we came into Youngevity, I had the opportunity 4 years ago to go down to Ohio and meet Dr. Wallach. And I took my husband with me. He had been struggling a little bit. He'd been on a lot of medication. His heart capacity, normal 65 to 70% for his age group. And so he was on a lot of medications. They thought they were going to have to give him a pacemaker and various other things. And they just couldn't figure out why or how it had all started. So we met Doc Wallach down in Ohio and ended up going to Florida that year as well. That was our first time going down to Florida for a couple of months. And when we got to Florida, we decided to go.
We're having a struggle there.
Yeah. All right. So what we're going to do now is we have one other person that's going to share, and then we're going to turn it over to Dr. Joel Wallach. This young man has 40 years. Oh, are you there?
Yes. So long story short, we met Dr. Wallach. We changed our diet drastically, and we went on a protocol that he customed for Dale. And at the end of it, Z-Radical was part of it. And the doctor thinks it's a miracle his heart is repairing itself. So we're pretty blessed to have that.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy. What a
for
blessing.
sharing. What a blessing.
Wow.
Wow.
Heart condition reversing itself.
Absolutely.
I also have a mini testimonial for me.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little one for me as well. Last September, I started on Z-Radical, and after 4 days, I had a little problem with Pepsi. I've been drinking it all my life, and after 4 days of Z-Radical, I have not had a Pepsi since. So that's the last of my sugar, and I've lost 25 pounds since. So.
Wow. What a blessing, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Wendy. And so, guys, the last person that we'll have to speak before we bring on Dr. Joel Wallach is someone who has basically been in the ministry for 40 years, been with an international ministry for about 29 years, and truly believes that we need to address the health crisis. And he's in Texas, and we would like for Pastor Larry, and I'm going to mess up the last name, Mariello.
Nice job. Hey, everyone. Listen, I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm just going to let you know, because you want to hear Dr. Wallach. You don't want to hear Larry Mariello. Well, what I want to tell you is that I first was introduced to Dr. Wallach and his information, his book and all that, when he was actually interviewed with Pastor Benny Hinn. And because I have a degree in chemistry and education along with ministry, it resonated with me right away. Here's a guy who's done the research, done the experiments, figured it out, what works with what, the medical issues, the particular issues, and then they're related to nutrition, and how with the right nutrition, our body was created by the great creator, God Almighty, that it would be and function well. It just needs the right materials. It needs the right chemistry, and then we can be healthy. So every cause and effect is there. So we got our family on the product, Tangerine and OsteoX, and it's just made a difference. And then I began to find out that so many people in our churches, in our congregations, and around the world had needs, had issues, were sick, or had health issues and things they were dealing with. Even in counseling people, I found that if I can get them on the right nutrition, they do so much better. Anxiety is less, overall function, mind function, memory, on and on and on. So I began to actually pay for the first order of the product. I would send them Tangerine, and I'd say, look, I'm going to pay for it. All I'm asking you to do is to take it for 30 days. Within 2 weeks, most of the people were calling me back and saying, you know what? Those pains in my joint, that arthritis, that this, the that, the aches, the pains, it's better. I never had anybody bring me back the product. You know what? No, thank you. It's amazing. So, we want to pray for the sick. We want to believe for them. We want to minister them. We want to help their whole person, body, soul, and spirit. But I'm telling you, your body needs the right nutrition if it's going to function. A healthier church is a prosperous church. It's a better church. Your people don't realize that so much of their woes, so much of their disappointment, so much of their anguish, and even their depression can be related back to poor nutrition. We're trying so hard to lift them up and to pray for them and pray for them and pray for them. Let's also help their body to be well so that they function and live as long as they can. Dr. Wallach, I appreciate you. You really got my attention as a scientist in that, and I love what you do, and thank you for everything, and God bless all.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Pastor Larry.
Pastor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And he's right. We definitely want to make certain that every man, woman, and child knows what we have. And Dr. Wallach petitioned the FDA 9 times and won. I mean, he received the GOD award from the United Nations for his work just around what he's done on natural medicine and all of his other philanthropic activities that he does.
Yeah, he has a book in the Smithsonian right now. And that book,
Diseases of Exotic Animals.
Right now, if you would try and buy that book brand new, we looked it up, it would cost you anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000. And he wrote that book many years ago, and they're still using it around the world, around the country, and maybe even around the world. All vets are doing that at this point.
Absolutely.
So he's been a blessing with 2-legged as well as 4-legged.
Absolutely. And, and it just goes on. I mean, he's written so many books. I mean, you talk about Hell's Kitchen, you talk about It's All in Your Head, the warning signs. I mean, there's so many books, and guys, you will be able to get those books and you can order them. So we'll give you more information around that as well. But we don't want to take up any more of his time. We're going to have more stories, more testimonials. We're going to take a break at 6 o'clock Pacific time. So that's 7 o'clock.
A 5-minute break.
5-minute break. Dr. Wallach is going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to continue to chat with you guys. But right now, and the only other thing that I can say about Dr. Wallach is that he is just a giver.
Yeah.
He gives so much to us all that we're just so grateful, and we just hope that we can do the same, and just as what he's doing. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to add is that, we talk about Dr. Wallach's products and how great they are and how he's changed people's lives. But we've been around Dr. Wallach now for many, many, many years. And if people that don't know this, here is a very important statement. that he's a better human being than he is a doctor. And
Wow.
unless you've been around him, you wouldn't know. He's a wonderful human being, a wonderful man. And without further ado, we give you Dr. Wallach.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Raymond and Yolanda. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Appreciate all the good stories and whatnot, and I'm going to kind of give some more details of some of them. Yeah, I was introduced to Andy Young. He was scheduled to have a double knee replacement. And I said, well, give me 90 days. And I put him on our program for regrowing cartilage and ligaments and tendons and connective tissue for athletes. And in 2 weeks' time, he was better. And in a month, he didn't need the surgery anymore. And so he began to introduce me to people. One of the first people he introduced me to is Pastor Creflo Dollar in Atlanta, Georgia, who had a 12-year-old daughter who was really on her deathbed. And when she was born 12 years earlier, Pastor Dollar was told that she had a genetic disease in black kids and that she was not going to make it to 12. And she was just there, and it was only weeks that she had left. So I sent him overnight a program for her. He began to put her on it. And in 2 weeks' time, she was cured. Praise God. We'll give God all the credit. She was cured. And he said, you got to come give a lecture at my church. So I came to his church and gave a lecture, and he recorded it, and we called it Black Gene Lies, because there are no genetic diseases in black people. And I'm going to repeat that. There are no genetic diseases in black people. And he said, now, what about other things like high blood pressure and diabetes and obesity and Alzheimer's disease and heart disease and all this stuff supposed to be genetic in black folks? I said, no, sir. They're all just nutritional deficiency diseases. He says, put it into a book. And he bought the first and published the first 10,000 copies of the book, Black Gene Lies. There are no genetic diseases in black folks. I'm going to repeat that. There are no genetic diseases in black folks. Any disease the doctor says is genetic is just a nutritional deficiency. Let's go quickly to, I'll kind of reverse out of this in a minute, but I want to go quickly because it's a current, is this pandemic. And when you look at has the biggest crisis is the indigenous peoples, the Native American, the Indian tribes. They have 133 people die per 100,000 people with infections. Black people come in next with 124,000 people die, okay, with infections per 100,000 people. And everybody thinks it's because they're black. No, it's a cultural thing. It's because of what they eat. Now, there's a tribe of, somebody's talking out there, and they really need to get muted, okay, because they're talking over me, and I don't like that. Okay. But at any rate, when you look at all the diseases that are said to be genetic in the black folks, they're not. And that book that's in the Smithsonian Institute is 17,000 some change of over 454 species of animals, zoo animals, and 3,000 humans. And you can get them used and beat up for 4,500. You can get them in fair condition for 6,000. You can get them in good condition for 8,000 to 10,000. But if you want them brand new, they're $25,000 to $30,000. That's from W.B. Saunders, the big medical textbook publishing firm. And the reason why they're so expensive is because with those 20,000 autopsies, I was able to show there are no genetically transmitted diseases. And we created a new science to replace genetics called epigenetics. So a guy by the name of Bruce Lipton, who is a neurophysiologist, and myself were considered the two fathers of this new science, epigenetics, which takes the place of genetics. There are no genetically transmitted diseases. You do not have a genetic sensitivity to this pandemic virus. That's all nonsense. And here's why. Let's go to what the problem is. There is a basic problem. When you look at people who do very well, let's look at the Ojibwe Indians in Minnesota. The Ojibwe Indians in Minnesota have 0 dead from the pandemic and 27 infections. Now let's look at Texas, which you're in, is emanating from Texas. There's 39,000 dead from the pandemic and 2.5 million infections. Now Texas has 2.5 million infections and 39,000 dead. The Ojibwe Indians have 0 dead and 27 infections. So what's the difference? Well, the Ojibwe Indians, they're Native Americans, they're indigenous peoples. They should have a high rate. Well, they've been eating wild rice for 400 years. When they immigrated from Florida to Minnesota in the early 1600s, 400 years ago, They didn't have any money to buy property, so they arrived in the spring along the lakes, and so they began to eat the wild rice. They've been eating wild rice for 400 years. They eat wild rice, they eat the algae from the lakes, and they catch fish, and they get rabbits and deer and stuff like that. And that's it. They don't eat any wheat, barley, rye, or oats, so they don't get any gluten issues in their intestines. Gluten from wheat, barley, rye, and oats produces a substance called pro-inflammatory cytokines, which destroy the villi in your intestines, the little finger-like projections that increase the absorptive surface in your intestines. Over a period of time, over a period of years, those villi go away from that cytokine, and now your intestines are just a smooth tube, and you don't get enough nutrition to give your immune system, and your immune system dies. And so when the COVID virus came, when the pandemic virus came, you had no defense. Now, this is very simple. You get off of the things that are killing those villi. Now, doctors do this by giving you a bone marrow transplant. We do this just by getting you off of Quaker Oats, the breakfast of champions, spaghetti, and flour tortillas, and put you on rice and sweet potatoes and beans and maize and squash that the Indians eat. And we'll throw in the algae from the oceans, which we have in the fucoid Z, which was mentioned, and the Z radical, the liquid, and also our ocean's gold. Okay, I take 3 of each of those twice a day. I only weigh 142 pounds. That's in addition to the 90 essential nutrients. Now you're doing what the government said to do for a year and a half, distance 6 feet, wash your hands and wear a mask. What did we get for that? We have 27,000, we have 27 million infections, 27 million infections, and just short of 500,000 dead. Now, in Arlington Cemetery, we have 400,000 graves. That's from all the wars we've had since the Civil War to now, 400,000 dead. That was since the Civil War. Well, in 1 year's time, we have 500,000 dead because of this pandemic, okay? Because they only gave us 2% of the information we needed. There's nothing wrong with distancing. There's nothing wrong with wearing a mask. There's nothing wrong with washing your hands. You know, we have our hand sanitizer. We have the colloidal silver. We have all that kind of stuff. But they left out equally important stuff. You have to get rid of the wheat, barley, rye, and oats so your intestines will heal and those villi will grow back. And then you need to supplement with the 90 essential nutrients, which will be absorbed now through your intestines, go through your bloodstream to your bone marrow, and your bone marrow will come back alive. You don't need to go to the doctor once a month to get a B12 shot and an iron shot because taking oral iron didn't help you. You're still anemic. And when that didn't work, they said, oh, you know, we'll give you a transfusion once a month so you get some red blood cells and platelets. And people get tired of that every month. And so they said, okay, we'll give you a bone marrow transplant. Well, the question you have to ask your doctor is, how many kids do you have in college and when is their tuition due? Okay, because for the price of a cup of coffee every day of supplements, I can regrow your villi, I can regrow your bone marrow, and you won't get the pandemic virus. Now, here's the secret. The vaccine is going to have an extreme difference in some people than others. Let's look at 3-year-old kids when they get the COVID virus. They get common cold-like symptoms for 3 to 5 days. Their body temperature goes up 0.5 degree from 98.6 to 99. You can't even class that as a fever. In 3 to 5 days, it's over with. They have the antibodies against the disease. They're good. I think we've had 35 kids in the millions that have been affected by, we've had 35 kids die in North America, includes Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And we've had 27 million adults die, or not die, but get infected, and 500,000 die. Okay. Well, that's because when your intestines are dead, even if you're supplementing, you can't absorb nutrients. You can't get nutrients to your bone marrow, and you can't get white blood cells and antibodies and red blood cells and platelets go through the bloodstream to kill and eat the virus. Well, here's what's going to happen. I'm already getting calls, Raymond and Yolanda. I'm already getting calls from people saying, I don't know why, but my grandmother died from the pandemic virus, the COVID, and she was vaccinated 3 months ago. She had both shots, and she had good antibodies, and she died. Well, why did that happen? Well, that's because she didn't have enough antibodies. Well, why is that? She got the 2 shots. Well, that's because she'd been eating Quaker Oats for breakfast for 50 years, and her intestines were dead. She couldn't get nutrition. She wasn't supplementing, couldn't get nutrition to her bone marrow to make antibodies and white blood cells. So you're going to see people with varying results of that. Now I'll give you a couple of examples here. Let's look at Texas. Okay, let's look at Texas with about 29 million people versus Vietnam with 96 million people. Vietnam has 3 times the number of people as Texas. Texas has 39,000 dead. Vietnam has 35 dead. Texas has 1,000 times more deaths than Vietnam. Vietnam has 2,000 infections. Texas has 2.5 million infections. Texas has 1,000 times more infections than Vietnam, yet Vietnam has 3 times the population. Well, why is that? Well, Vietnam, they live on rice and sweet potatoes and beans and algae. I hear somebody yelling and talking in the background. You need to mute them if you can. I'll give you one more comparison. Let's look at one here. Let's look at Mexico versus Japan. They both have about 128 million people. They both have 128 million people. 128 million people. The Japanese have 6,000 dead. The Mexicans have 169,000 dead. Okay, they have 80 times the death rate. Okay, Mexicans do the Japanese. The Japanese have 400,000 infections. The Mexicans have 1.9 million infected. By tomorrow, it'll be 2 million infected. Well, the difference is the Latinos in Mexico are living on wheat, bran, and oats. They eat flour tortillas, they eat spaghetti, okay, and they eat pan, bread. They drink cerveza, which is beer made from wheat. And the Japanese are the consummate example of Asians. They live on the algae from the oceans. They live on seafood. They live on rice and sweet potatoes and corn and beans and squash. Okay, and so their villi are good because they're getting all these nutrients and no gluten. The Mexicans are in big trouble because they're eating all this gluten and couldn't absorb if they're getting nutrients, but they're not getting any nutrients because their intestines are dead and they don't supplement. They certainly don't eat a lot of algae and that kind of stuff. And I could give you 50 examples like this where I compare 2 different countries, and I probably should give you one more. Let's give you Arizona. No, let's give you Florida. Let's give you Florida. Okay. Let's give you Florida versus Taiwan. Taiwan, classic Asian country. Florida, classic Southern country. Both of them have about 22 million people. Taiwan has 9 dead, just 9, not 900 or 9,000, just 9 dead. Florida has 28,000, almost 29,000 dead. Taiwan has 900 infections, and Florida has 1.8 million infections. So what's the difference between Florida and Taiwan? Well, Taiwan is 100% Asians eating rice and sweet potatoes and beans and corn and squash and seaweed. And Florida is 40, 50, 60%, depending on what county you're looking at, blacks, Latinos, and 6 or 7 different tribes of indigenous peoples, all of whom eat wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And so when you look at that, I can give you 50 comparisons like this between an Asian country and a state or a country, you know, like England, which is the consummate country for gluten. They took wheat around the world so that their sailors would have wheat wherever they went. They have 67 million people in the UK. That's England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, okay? And they have 115,000 dead, 115,000 dead. Thailand has 80 dead. The UK has 115,000 dead. Thailand has 80 dead. The UK has 4 million infections, and Thailand has 24,000 infections. What's the difference? Well, Thailand's an Asian country, lives on rice and sweet potatoes and seaweed and beans and squash and corn, and the UK lives on wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And I could go on and on and on, but I think you get the picture here. And so if everybody gets off the bad stuff, fried foods, processed meats, oils, glutens, wheat, butter, rye, and oats, and lives like an Asian, takes the 90 essential nutrients, give your body what it needs to get through your intestines, to be absorbed through the intestines, go to your bone marrow. So your bone marrow can make white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and antibodies. You will survive. And you will get benefit from the vaccine. The vaccines do not kill viruses, bacteria, fungus, or yeast. They only alert your body to viruses, bacteria, fungus, and yeast. They don't kill it. So you're dependent on your bone marrow. And if your bone marrow is dead, you're in trouble. So what I want to do here, we got a little bit of time left in this first hour, and I want to look at some other things that are sort of related. Let's look at other diseases thought to be genetic in Black folks. Let's look at things like sickle cell anemia. Well, sickle cell anemia, you can be born with 10% sickle cells, 15% sickle cells, 25% sickle cells. But once you get over 25, 30%, then you're in trouble. Well, sickle cell anemia is not a genetic disease of Black folks. It's found in white people, Asian people, Native Americans. It's found in every kind of people you can think of. It's not just in Black people. But because they said, well, everybody on earth can't have genes like the Black people, so we're going to call it thalassemia in everybody else. It's thalassemia in white people, Native Americans, and Asians. And so it's thalassemia. That's all the same thing. These are birth defects that are caused by mother missing a particular nutrient early in the stages of pregnancy when the bone marrow is forming to make hemoglobin. And if that nutrient is missing, those bone marrow cells are not normal. And when the baby's born, it makes a percentage of sickled cells. If you're Black, you have sickle cell anemia. If you're any other color, okay, it's thalassemia, but it's all the same thing. Let's look at Down syndrome. It's supposed to be a genetic disease, things going on, you know, with your, with the, you have one too many, help me out here a second. You have one too many things, okay? And you have 23 of these chromosomes. Yeah, thank you. You have 23 chromosomes instead of 22, okay? And basically that happens when you're deficient. And I had a call from Lauren Knievel, who was Evel Knievel, you know, the Daredevil's niece-in-law. And she was 2.5 months pregnant. She was diagnosed 2 ways with a triple screen test and also an ultrasound, okay, that her embryo 2.5 months along in the first trimester, okay, was no doubt about it, had Down syndrome. So I sent her overnight our program with the 90 essential nutrients, a healthy start pack. She took it every day. The baby was born perfectly normal. The doctors were freaked out. And she named him Noah Knievel. Okay, now he's in the military now. I have great pictures of him in the military, and he's a college student. And so I do this thousands of times a month all over the world. Okay, and then you have other diseases. Let's look at kidney failure. Or you want to do kidney failure or Alzheimer's disease or both? We got time. Let's do both. Oh. Yeah, let's do both. Okay, let's start out with kidney failure. I got a Canadian come to me. He was on dialysis for 10 years, 6 times a week. For 20 years, he was on dialysis 3 times a week. Now, the reason why he was on dialysis in the last 10 years, 6 times a week, was he hadn't urinated in 10 years. So I put him on our program for dialysis. And in 2 weeks' time, he's urinating. So they dropped him down to 3 times a week. And in 2 more weeks, he's off of dialysis after 25 years of dialysis. Now, he didn't want to get a kidney transplant. That's why he was on dialysis for 25 years. Now, let's look at Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is not a genetic disease. Alzheimer's disease is not a degenerative disease of old people. It is actually a nutritional deficiency. And I had a gal call me, now this has got to be 25 years ago, and she said, my brother Ray McGregor's been in a coma for 8 years in a nursing home. He was diagnosed 3 years before he was putting in the nursing home in a coma with Alzheimer's disease, and doctors are treating with pharmaceuticals. And in 3 years' time, he goes into this coma, and they started feeding him Ensure and things like that through his G-tube, and they fed him Ensure for 8 years. He's in this coma, and they're ready to pull the plug on him because his brain waves are about 0, and they need the room for somebody who's being more likely to survive. Can you do anything for me? I said, well, get 90 days and I'm going to give you a program. Okay. I want you to put him on our shake, but I want you to make our shake with heavy cream, not water, and give him 3 shakes a day, 1 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner through his G-tube. I want you to give him our Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, 1 full dose at breakfast, lunch, and dinner through the G-tube. I want you to give him our Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of them, 3 times a day, 3 at breakfast, lunch, and dinner through the G-tube. I want him to have the de-stress capsules, the Ultimate Niacin Plus. I also want him to have the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets in case he has vascular dementia, because there's 12 different dementias, and doctors always call it Alzheimer's disease because that's what pays the most from insurance is Alzheimer's disease. So they always call any dementia Alzheimer's disease. So I said, call me every 2 weeks, get 90 days, and call me every 2 weeks, get this done. So she starts ordering the product, and she calls me in 3 days, and she's crying and wailing and moaning. I said, oh my God, he's died, and I'm going to be blamed for this. I said, well, tell me about your brother, Ray McGregor. She's screaming, Ray McGregor, Ray McGregor. I said, well, tell me about him. Well, he woke up this morning, thought he was only sick or asleep for one night. He didn't realize he was in a coma for 8 years. He shaves, he gets dressed, he goes back to work at the bank where he was an officer. Nobody there today was there 8 years ago when he went into the coma. And they all thought he was just some clever crook claiming he was a bank officer so that he could rob the bank. So the police are swarming the bank right now. Okay. And he's perfectly normal.
Wow.
Okay. Now, did he have one form of dementia? Did he have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 or all 12 of them? I don't know. But I treated for all 12, and that's why he got better so quick. Okay. And so I have literally millions of, in fact, we have a book coming out here pretty soon. It's called The Greatest Stories Ever Told. It's a supplement to the Bible, The Greatest Story Ever Told. We have literally millions of stories like this. And it's going to blow your mind when this book comes out. Because, of course, we tell what's missing. What do you need to take to prevent these things? What do you need to take to reverse them? And we do this literally millions of times a month all over the world in 50 countries. And we have the book Black Gene Lies, which Pastor Dollar paid for the first 10,000 copies to be printed. Okay. And of course, we sell millions of them. Every black kid in the world needs to listen to the CD twice a week for the rest of their life. Every black kid in the world needs to read the book Black Gene Lies every day in their life. Everybody needs to also get a hold of the book and the CD Hell's Kitchen. Now here's why. Good, we got 10 minutes left. Okay, here's why. Hell's Kitchen. You have to appreciate that we know exactly why we're having these pandemics. Let's go back to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street in New York City, in the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, Thomas Edison and Jonathan Leibs pulled the switch in the first commercial electric generating plant, and electricity started going throughout the world. Now, before that moment, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, everybody in the world, whether you were an emperor, a king, a prince, a princess, a policeman, a soldier, a dirt farmer, a wanderer, it didn't matter who you were, everybody was getting minerals because they were putting wood ashes from their wood stove and their fireplaces into their gardens. Well, wood ashes were a source of minerals to all human beings all over the world. And when we went to electricity, suddenly now nobody had wood ashes anymore. And people began to feel kind of funky after 6 months to a year without the wood ashes. And they said to their doctor, shouldn't I be taking some vitamins and minerals? I should be taking some vitamins and minerals. I'm really feeling funky. The doctor said, no, do not waste your money on any vitamins and minerals. Just eat well, you get everything you need. And so people began to gain weight. And after 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, they said, you're 50 pounds overweight. I don't know why. I'm working hard. I'm eating the same way I always ate, but you weren't getting any minerals. So you developed a behavior called pica, P-I-C-A, which is a craving. And the doctors would say, okay, you're eating too much animal fat. That's why you're gaining weight. You're eating too much animal fat. Get rid of the fat out of your diet and eat more whole grains. Now, you guys are probably old enough to remember when the doctors said, eat more whole grains. And of course, they began to eat more wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And that was the beginning of the end. And so that's why we have all the problems we have all over the earth, because medical doctors ignorantly said, eat more whole grains. Now, they should have said, eat rice. But they said eat more whole grains. And so everybody started eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And drinking wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Okay? And so it's one of those things where this is all self-inflicted, but it's all repairable. Get rid of the wheat, barley, and oats out of your diet. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, barley, rye, and oats, no sugar. take the 90 essential nutrients. And right now I would take the big hammer. I wouldn't take the basic program, which is a healthy start pack. I'd go with a big hammer out of the toolbox, a healthy brain and heart pack. And then the subtitle of the book, Hell's Kitchen, okay, goes into all the warning signals, okay? And then we have the red warning light CD out now, goes into these warning signals. You have all these pre-existing conditions or nutritional deficiencies. And it's one of those things where the medical system makes all their living from all these pre-existing conditions, which are nutritional deficiencies. And they tell you they're autoimmune diseases. No, they're just a nutritional deficiency secondary to the gluten. Get off of gluten, get on the 90 essential nutrients, and lupus goes away in weeks. It's not an autoimmune disease. Things like rheumatoid arthritis. It's an infection with a bug called mycoplasma on top of bone-to-bone arthritis. You take an antibiotic called minocycline, like the bait fish, minocycline, and it kills the mycoplasma bug. And you get on a healthy bone and joint pack, and in 2 weeks' time, you don't have rheumatoid arthritis anymore. Even though you've had it for 25 years, it'll go away in 2 weeks. Okay? These are the sort of things you'll find in our books and CDs. Okay? And this is a gift of life information. Well, what happened was in 1918, after 20-something years without wood ashes, suddenly now everybody's bone marrow is dead because they were using electricity, and we got the Spanish flu. October of 1918, we had 195,000 Americans die just in the month of October. We had 657,000 people in America die in 2 years from the Spanish flu. Then in 2003, the SARS and MERS and H1N1 came out, another pandemic. And Dr. Milan and I came out with the CD called Hell's Kitchen. And then the COVID-2 came out in 2005. So we came up with a book, Hell's Kitchen, to tell you about the history. All this history is in the book and the CD about the electricity and everything and why all this is happening. And, you know, everybody just keeps looking for the vaccination. Well, the vaccination doesn't kill the bugs. And if you're not getting nutrition, well, look, the Jonas Salks vaccine got rid of polio in 2 weeks. Well, that's because all the people that got polio were kids. Polio is a kid's disease. Their villi were still good. They weren't eating gluten for 30 years. And when they gave all these kids the polio vaccine in 2 weeks' time, they told their immune system to build antibodies, and they were still getting nutrition through their villi because they hadn't eaten gluten for so long. And so they, within weeks, they got antibodies against the polio virus. Everybody said, well, why aren't we getting that same thing with the pandemic virus? I'll tell you why here. I think we got 5 minutes left. Let's look at vaccinations. Merck pulled their vaccinations. They had 2 of them were ready to come out about 2 months ago, and they pulled them. They spent billions of dollars on them, and they pulled them and said, sorry, we're not letting them out. They don't hurt anybody, but they have unacceptable results. And then 2 weeks later, Johnson & Johnson came out and said, hey, we're ready to go. Our vaccine is 60% good in the world, 60% good in the world, effective, 66% effective in America. And that's because everybody they did in their study was over age 65. No villi, no bone marrow. Then 2 months later comes Moderna. Hey, we have 94% infected or effectiveness. Okay, 94%. Well, that's because 80% of the people in the study were white. Only 9% were black. Native Americans weren't even in the study. And 25% were over age 65, not 100% like the Johnson & Johnson one. So they skewed the data. Then came Pfizer. We're 95% effective. 81% white in the study. Only 21% were over age 65. That's why they had such good results, because they're vaccinating all these kids. Okay? When you start vaccinating people who are over age 30, it depends on how much gluten they've been eating all their life, how much bread they've been eating, how many tortillas they're eating, flour tortillas. Okay, you can have, I eat pizza 3 times a week for dinner, but I eat cauliflower gluten-free pizza. Okay, what do I have for breakfast? Every morning for breakfast, I'll have 3 big ice cream scoops full of wild rice. I have smoked Pacific salmon, Alaskan salmon. I have baked sweet potatoes. I have 3 soft-boiled eggs. Hard-boiled eggs won't count. And I have 2 of these 4-ounce cups of yogurt that are gluten-free and sugar-free, plus all my supplements. And then for dinner, tonight, after this program, I'm going to have 3 lamb chops and sweet potatoes and rice and a glass of red wine and my supplements. But I don't eat any. I've been gluten-free for 73 years because I figured this out myself when I was 9 years old. I figured it out when I was 9 years old because they were going to institutionalize me because I was very violent and was hurting people. I was going to hurt myself. I was going to kill somebody and kill myself. They didn't have a name for what I had, but they knew they had to institutionalize me. My mom and dad took me to 20 different doctors. They couldn't figure it out. When they said they were going to put me in an institution for the rest of my life, I said, why are the animals not getting this? Well, we're eating the same thing the animals are. Wait a minute. No, we're not. They're getting vitamins and minerals. So I started taking the animal vitamins and minerals, and in 3 days' time, I was cured. After 5 years and 20 doctors couldn't figure it out, I gave myself the animal vitamins and minerals, and in 3 days' time, I was cured. So I figured it out when I was 9. And that's why we're at where we're at. Over to you.
Wow. A lot of information there.
A wealth of wisdom and knowledge.
Yep. So
Knowledge.
we're going to hang around for a minute. And so Doc, we'll see you in 5.
Okay.
Okay. So guys, you know, Doc talked about the 90 essential nutrients. And so we all know that that's found in our Healthy Start Pack, which looks like this. And so those are your 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids. But then you also heard what we found is that people are looking for something that's very simple.
We couldn't see the we couldn't see the pack.
So that's the Healthy Body Start Pack. That's Healthy Start Pack 2.0. But what we found is that folks are looking for something that's very simple when they're getting started and wanting to really, I really need something that's going to help me, but I need to start off and I want it to be very simple. And that's where the Z Radical comes in. You see, Z Radical is a beverage. You heard Bishop say earlier, you know, it's also in capsule form. We have it, the fucoids, and then we also have it in stick pack as well as in the powder. So, but what we found is 4 ounces a day, 4 ounces a day. You can do 2 in the morning, 2 ounces in the evening or afternoon, or you can take 4 capsules, or you can do the powder, and that's about 4 scoops, or you can do the stick packs. It's about 4 of them a day. But here's just to keep it real simple, 4 ounces a day. What the fucoidan, Fucoidan, does in the Z Radical is it builds your immune system. It puts your body back into balance, called homeostasis. It addresses just about any condition that you can think of. I mean, you can go to the National Library of Medicine, pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov, and you will see the research, not from Youngevity, but you will see the research from there are over 2,000 studies, and you can key in fucoidan in cancer, sinus, allergies, colds, flu, diabetes, arthritis, high blood pressure, any condition that you're thinking about, autoimmune diseases, sickle cell, lupus, AIDS,
Alzheimer's,
autism,
yeah.
you know, and it's all there. It addresses all of those conditions. It works at the cellular level, cell-to-cell communication. It has antiviral properties, antibacterial, anticoagulant, antiparasitic, anti-aging properties in it. And all of us are going to want that at some point in our lives. But the researchers were what really got us. You want to talk to them a little bit about
the research was amazing, guys. When we saw, there was research from all over the world, Russia, Canada, Europe, Asia. But when we saw the research from Harvard School of Medicine, from Baylor College of Medicine right here in Texas, Duke there in North Carolina, and the world's foremost research center, Johns Hopkins. When we saw those in 1970, and it was amazing. Guys, we brought this product back to the United States, and you wouldn't believe the things that have happened. People that have been on different medications like mental anxiety medications were able to get off, and people who had high blood pressure for 30 years were able to get off their high blood pressure. I mean, it was amazing. The stories go on and on and on and on. And also, I mean, we also As a matter of fact, it's impossible for it not to work because it works at the cellular level. Doc, you back with us?
I am back.
All
Okay.
right. So guys, we're not making any medical claims, none whatsoever. When you give your body the proper nutritional building blocks, it will heal itself. So with that, we know that you guys got a lot of information just in this first hour, and your head is probably spinning. So you want to make sure that you get with the person that invited you to this Zoom call tonight, and they will give you more information. And you can always, always, always call us, and we're more than happy to address any of your questions. So I was just going to give the phone number. You want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So you can give us a call at 281-980-1893, 281-980-1893, or just email us at rybrown12@gmail.com, or you can put it in the chat and we will get back with you. Now, again, we may not get to all of the questions tonight. So you want to make sure if you do have a question, put it in the chat, your name and telephone number, and we will get the answers for you. We'll get with Doc and get those answers for you and get back to you. But now we're going to turn it over
to Doc. I just want to say a thing before Doc starts out. You know, as Bishop was saying when he first gave his testimony at the beginning of the program, you know, people don't have to be sick, guys. Here's what Dr. Wallach is telling us, and been saying this for years. We don't have to participate in all these diseases and sickness. All you have to do is take the product, put the right vitamins and minerals into your body, and the body will heal itself. It wants to heal itself, but it has to have the right nutrients and minerals in the body. It's just that simple. We don't have to be sick, guys. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say this. Doc, you might want to close your ears. I'm going to say this, and that is, I don't know one person. We have a very large organization, and I don't know one person who's taking the products and taking them the right way on a consistent basis that had any issues with the pandemic. That's just my experience. That's just the truth. So back over to you, Doc.
Okay, well, that's a good observation, because it's just, we probably in our Youngevity family have the lowest rate of infection and deaths of the pandemic. So it's a very good observation on your part. Now I want to give some great stories here, because I know we have lots to do here and I want to get a few things in. You ever hear of a disease called cystic fibrosis?
Yes.
It's supposed to be a genetic disease of kids. Do you ever hear of a disease called muscular dystrophy?
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a genetic disease of kids. Did you ever hear of a disease called crib death or sudden death syndrome?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's supposed to be caused by mothers, laying on their babies. Well, I need to back up a little bit. Following a project that Dr. Milan and I did in China, in Qishan, China, we did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died of Qishan disease, which is a sudden heart death in Qishan province. It's caused by deficiency of a specific nutrient. Okay. We went there because we knew that nutrient was the same cause of cystic fibrosis, and the same nutrient deficiency is causing cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and crib death. So we went there, we did 1,700 autopsies, and 35% had cystic fibrosis, 100% had muscular dystrophy, and 200 of them under the age of 1 year would have been diagnosed with crib death here in America. Now, April 16th, 2013, we, as one of our lawsuits against the FDA, and we prevailed in a federal court. This is a federal court. We prevailed and got this one nutrient to be put, after 25 years of arguing with doctors and the manufacturers of Enfamil and Similac and so forth. We finally got a federal ruling that they had to put this nutrient in the baby formula. Exactly a year and a half later, September 13th, 2014, big headlines in the Charlotte Observer. Let's see, isn't Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yes.
It's my home state.
Yes.
So in the Charlotte Observer, it's a big newspaper, kind of like the New York Times for New York, the Charlotte Observer. Front page story, big headlines. We don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of North Carolina. 3 months later, in the headlines in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the other newspapers in Missouri, we don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of Missouri. Then 3 months later, all over the world, every newspaper came out and said, we don't know why, but the rate of diagnoses of sudden death syndrome has dropped dramatically by 85 to 95%. Well, that's because we forced them to put that nutrient into the baby formula. Here, before that ruling, the death rate from crib death, I made them change it to crib death because only 2% of the babies who were diagnosed with crib death were in bed with their mothers. 98% were in their cribs. So you couldn't say the mothers were laying on them in their cribs. Okay, so that's when I forced them to change the name to crib death as opposed to sudden death syndrome. But anyway, prior to April 16, 2013, the death rate from sudden death syndrome was 1 in 300,000 normal births. No, let me back up. 1 in 300, not 300,000. 1 in 300 births were kids dying. Every once in a while, it'd be a month, there'd be 1 in 80 births. I mean, it was a lot, it was all over the place. It was terrible. That's because of that deficiency, that nutrient in the baby formulas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they just came out with a new look at this about a week ago, and they said now the rate of crib death in American babies is 1 per 3,000.
Wow.
Where a couple of years ago it was 1 per 300. Well, there's still a few people just giving cow's milk to their babies, not giving them that nutrient. The mothers may be breastfeeding the baby and they're not supplementing with that nutrient. And that's why it's coming through. But 1 in 3,000 is a lot better than 1 in 300. Now, Marvin Ropp, you know him. He's a Navy SEAL. He's also Amish. He and I were working with the Amish communities with muscular dystrophy. They had a high rate of muscular dystrophy in Utah and Idaho because that nutrient was deficient in the farm soils there. And so he and I began to treat these kids, and we cured hundreds of them. And the oldest one was like 31 years old, had been diagnosed at birth. He was 31 years old in a wheelchair. We cured hundreds of them. We gave Jerry Lewis about 50 of the charts that the doctors had made all the marks in there, said, we don't know why, but they don't have muscular dystrophy anymore, blah, 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 blah. And Jerry Lewis was so excited after 20 years of the telethon and raising billions of dollars for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. He takes it to the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and they fired Jerry Lewis in 2011 because they brought him the cure. They fired Jerry Lewis. Now, they had to stop the telethon in 2015 because they couldn't raise a penny without him. Okay? So I'm the guy, by getting that one nutrient put into baby formulas, got rid of cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, and sudden death syndrome. We're very, very proud of that. Mm-hmm. And I have to thank Dr. Milan for, helping us get that project done in China. I mean, how many American doctors are going to get to go to China and do 1,700 autopsies on their dead kids? They're not going to let them do it. I think I'm the only one ever. But that's because Milan was a microsurgeon trained in China. She taught and did research at Harvard. And she was also in the Chinese Air Force for 7 years. And so I met her in Houston when I was visiting you guys. That's where I met her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So we're very proud in Youngevity. We got rid of those 3 childhood diseases, cystic fibrosis. You don't hear about them anymore. They used to be a big thing all the time. The telethons, raising money, got to find the cause. We don't hear about cystic fibrosis anymore because I got rid of it. Got rid of it. You don't hear about muscular dystrophy anymore because I got rid of it. You don't hear about sudden death syndrome anymore or crib death because I got rid of it. With nutrition. It was just a nutritional deficiency, and doctors were missing it by 1,000 miles.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's amazing, Doc. So, everyone, most of the folks that are on this call, we're getting questions around, high blood pressure,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
high cholesterol, diabetes.
That's easy.
So let's
Okay,
start.
let's go there. Let's
Okay.
go there. Okay. First of all vertebrates, whether you're a wombat or a hummingbird or an elephant or a giraffe or a human being or a porpoise, needs the 90 essential nutrients. The good Lord made us in such a way we have the ability to maintain ourselves. Okay, he gave us the equipment to maintain ourselves, but we do require raw materials. You look back in the Bible days, the greatest story ever told, the Bible days, people lived to be 300, 700. Methuselah lived to be 969. That's because they were getting their 90.
Mm.
They were getting their 90. Now, they didn't know that. They just happened to live in the right place and were eating the right way. But they didn't know why. But that's because they were doing, what they were supposed to do. So high blood pressure has to do with two things: deficiencies and blockages of particular arteries. The blockages of the arteries that take the dirty blood into the kidneys will cause the kidney to release a hormone called renin. You can look it up on Siri, R-E-N-N-I-N, renin. And renin, produced by the kidney, makes your blood pressure go up because your kidney wants the dirty blood to be forced into the kidney. So it produces this renin when it's not getting enough dirty blood. Doctors want to give you dialysis, okay, at X amount per treatment, 3 times a week. So, and so we came up with a program we call the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, which is our basic big hammer, okay? But we also have what we call the Ultimate Daily Classic Tablets. Take 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And it supports healthy blood pressure and supports healthy blood flow through blocked arteries. And we take people off of dialysis all the time, just like I told you earlier in the first hour about this guy from Canada that couldn't urinate for 10 years. And so he's on dialysis 6 days a week for 10 years. In 2 weeks' time, we had him reduced to 3 days a week. And then in 2 more weeks, he was off of dialysis. Okay. So it's blocked arteries into the kidneys are the biggest cause of high blood pressure. Now, when you have blocked arteries in the kidneys, you also have blocked arteries in your brain. You're going to have memory problems. You have blocked arteries in your heart. You're going to have heart problems. You have blocked arteries down your legs. You got leg problems and so on, right? But the thing that's making the blood pressure go up is that blocked artery going into the kidneys because the kidneys releasing the hormone called renin. Okay, so you got to get rid of the fried foods, the processed meats, the oils, the glutens, the wheat, butter, refined oats. Cholesterol is your best friend. Cholesterol makes up 75% of your brain weight. Cholesterol makes up 95% of the weight of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. You do not want to be cholesterol deficient. If you're on statin drugs, box it up and give it to your doctor with love. Say, please, please, if it's a woman doctor, say, please give it to your husband. Don't throw it away. Give him the statin drugs. If it's a male doctor, say, take it. I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. Please, please take this statin drug. Don't throw it away. Okay. Now, diabetes is very simple. It's not a genetic disease. I repeat that. Type 2 diabetics make up 98 to 99% of the diabetic population. It's a simple disease of a deficiency of one or the other minerals. There's 2 different mineral deficiencies that can cause type 2 diabetes. Some people have both deficiencies, and so they have a real severe brittle diabetes. And so that's why we came up with Sweeties. And you take Sweeties with our basic healthy start pack, and we call it the healthy blood sugar pack. And you take one of those healthy blood sugar packs per 100 pounds of body weight, and don't cold turkey off your medication. You take your blood sugar as you're supposed to, and as your blood sugar starts coming down, you reduce your medication based on the numbers like you're supposed to. We take people, Yolanda and Raymond, we take people whose A1C, which is a measurement of how well you're controlling your blood sugar, should be below 4. We get people who have their A1C over 15, they're like 19 for 20 years. And in 2 weeks' time, they're down below 4 in our program.
Yes.
Okay. And we do this all the time because it's not a genetic disease. Now, then there's type 1 diabetes where babies are born with type 1. Just like sickle cell anemia, babies that are born with type 1, their mothers are missing the nutrient necessary to make beta cells in your islets of Langerhans and your embryonic pancreas. And these beta cells make the insulin. Okay. So if your mother's not able to get enough stuff to make enough beta cells in your islets of Langerhans, the baby's born with type 1 diabetes. Now, the funny story is, now we'll even get them, they may need a little bit of insulin, but we'll be able to reduce the amount of insulin they take to like by 90%. Some of them are able to just totally get off of insulin just by giving them a healthy blood sugar pack. But certainly they'll be able to reduce it and get their A1Cs down below 4, even if they're type 1s. Now, the 98% of people who have type 2 diabetes, they will all be able to get off of their medication. Now they say, well, I'm 65 years old. My doctor says I have type 1. Well, why is that? He says, well, he diagnosed me with diabetes and he gave me this medicine, oral medicine. And I took it and it didn't work. So he had to give me injectable insulin. He says, well, you're type 1. That's why you have to have injectable insulin. No, the reason why it didn't work was because they couldn't absorb the medication because their intestines were dead because they've been eating gluten all their life. Get gluten-free, you take the healthy blood sugar pack. You don't need injectable insulin anymore because you're not a type 1 diabetic when you're 65. And so I don't know if doctors are that ignorant or if they do that because they have kids in college and tuition is due.
Wow.
Well,
You know, Doc, here's a question that we have is there a benefit to take COVID-19 vaccines?
Okay. There's always a benefit to take a vaccine. Now, the nice thing about the COVID vaccine is they've done so much research on it because they know that everybody's skeptical about vaccines. They know people are paranoid about the government wanting to kill them and control them with vaccines and all that kind of stuff. So they did everything they could to make sure there was going to be no negative side effects, no deaths from the vaccine. Okay? Mm-hmm. But just remember, the vaccines don't kill the virus. Vaccines just alert your immune system to the DNA, RNA in the virus. So when the virus comes, your body will say, I got to send out I got to send out the cavalry and the Marines, which are your white blood cells, your antibodies, and red blood cells and platelets. But if you've been eating gluten and flour tortillas and spaghetti and chicken noodle soup and pancakes and so forth forever, okay, and eating cupcakes for dessert and pizza crust made from wheat, your intestines are dead and you can't absorb nutrition out of your food, and so you're not going to get a response from the vaccine. Because the vaccine only alerts your body, you still have to send out the cavalry and the Marines, and you cannot make white blood cells and antibodies and red blood cells and platelets if you can't get the nutrition from your intestines to your bone marrow. So you got to get rid of the gluten so you can absorb the nutrition, and you got to supplement if you're going to take the vaccine. Otherwise, don't expect a full, a full complement of benefit from a vaccine. And that's why Merck pulled their vaccine. We don't know why, but we didn't get the desired result. Nothing wrong with the vaccine. They just gave it to mostly seniors whose intestines were dead, and they weren't supplementing. They couldn't get nutrition to their bone marrow, so their bone marrow couldn't respond and make antibodies. And so that's why they pulled the vaccine. Okay, now, they should give me a bonus, Merck, because if they get everybody off of gluten and get them on the 90 essential nutrients, then their vaccine will be 95% effective instead of 40% effective.
mm-hmm.
Yep. Did you have
Doc, we have a big one here that seemed to be two questions. One is on cancer, and the other one is, why do we find so many people, so many young people sick with cancer and other diseases, as opposed to we used to not get these diseases like we used to?
Okay, two reasons. Number one, they're not getting wood ashes. They're not getting the minerals anymore for their immune system. And they're eating more fried foods. They're eating more gluten. And if they were supplementing, they couldn't absorb the nutrients. Okay, that's the problem. And they're eating all these fried foods and eating salad dressings and eating this oil and that oil. Those are the things that cause cancer. Oxidized oil cause cancer. They turn into trans fats, heterocyclamines, and acrylamides and cause cancer. That's why I say no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no glutens, no wheat, brown rice, no sugar. You take your 90 essential nutrients. I'm 82 years old and I don't have any health problems. I don't have any of those things. I've been taking a gluten-free diet for 73 years since I started taking those animal vitamins and minerals when I was 9 years old. Okay. And I've been gluten-free and taking the supplements since I was 9. Doctors couldn't figure it out. 20 doctors couldn't figure it out. And just a 9-year-old kid figured it out because I was watching the animals, and we didn't have electricity until I was 9 years old. We lived way out in the boonies. And so we didn't have electricity until I was 9. We were still getting wood ashes at that point. But I realized that the animals weren't getting the diseases we were getting, even though like the chickens and the rabbits and things were getting food out of the garden like we were. But we were also giving them alfalfa pellets with all the vitamins and minerals in it. So I started eating their alfalfa pellets and cured myself when 20 doctors couldn't do it.
Wow.
Wow. You know, Doc, there's so many people out there that have eczema. Can you talk about?
Oh, yeah. Okay, eczema is the easiest disease to get rid of. Eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, rosacea. When you have those things along with fibromyalgia, doctors will say, oh, you have an autoimmune disease called lupus. Okay, usually these people also have bowel problems, which they don't like to talk about.
Cam.
Okay, they'll have bowel problems they don't like to talk about. It'll be things like celiac disease, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, diverticulitis. Those are all caused by gluten, and gluten causes you to have a particular deficiency that causes these skin problems. Okay, now you get rid of gluten out of your life and you take the 90, which includes all the nutrients. The skin problems go away, the bowel problems go away, your arthritis goes away, your high blood pressure goes away, your diabetes goes away, your arthritis goes away, your thyroid problems go away, your Alzheimer's disease goes away. And it's very simple. Skin problems are the easiest things to get rid of because they're a simple nutritional deficiency. And, you know, doctors want to put a cream on there and make it feel better. And people are happy initially, but they'll die early because they got the bowel problems, which are going to kill them. That's what's going to kill them is the bowel problems because they're not absorbing other things. So they're going to get diabetes, and they're going to get cancer, and they're going to get thyroid issues, they're going to get liver cirrhosis and all this stuff because the bowels are being damaged by all these bad foods and not being able to absorb nutrition. And the skin thing was just sort of like the red warning light. And that's why I want people to get a hold of this new CD we have out called The Red Warning Lights. Okay. It's like the red warning light in the dashboard of your car. There's all these pre-existing conditions. Mm-hmm. And that's why Bruce Lipton and I are considered the two fathers of the science of epigenetics, which has replaced genetics. There are no genetic diseases. I don't care if you're white or black or yellow or red, it doesn't matter. There are no genetic diseases. All the diseases said to be genetic are not. And this is why Pastor Creflo Dollar, he really understood because his daughter now has given him wonderful grandchildren, beautiful grandchildren. And he paid for the first 10,000 copies of this book to be published. And he paid for the first publications of the audio cassette tape, which was my first recording, which came out in his church. Mm-hmm. Because we saved his daughter, who was supposed to die of a black genetic disease. We cured her in 2 weeks. She gave him beautiful grandchildren. Okay. And he introduced me to literally thousands of people all over the world to prove to them that there are no genetic diseases in black folks.
Right.
So Doc, are you saying because if a mother has, let's say, high blood pressure and she has children, let's say 3 children and all 3 has high blood pressure, that was not hereditary, that was not inherited by the children?
No, that's not genetic. They're getting it because they're eating the same way their mother's eating. They're eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats and not supplementing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I say it's not a genetic thing. It is a cultural thing. It's what you eat and what you do and don't do is causing the problem. It has nothing to do whether you're black or white, mm-hmm. or yellow or red. It has nothing to do whether your family. It's what you eat and don't eat, if you supplement or not. That's it. That's why the book Black Gene Lies and the CD Black Gene Lies everybody, what color you are, should read it. Hell's Kitchen, the CD and the book, everybody should read and listen to. Everybody should read the book and listen to the CDs, Epigenetics, and then everybody should get the newest CD called Red Warning Light, okay? And go all these pre-existing conditions. Doctors say, oh, you're at high risk of this pandemic virus because you got these 8 pre-existing conditions. Well, that's because they're all nutritional deficiencies because they've been eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats all their life and not supplementing. Their bone marrow's dead, and so if they get the COVID, they're going to die.
Yep. So, Doc, tell us a little bit about plantar fasciitis.
Okay, well, plantar fasciitis is a degenerative disease of connective tissue. Fascia is kind of like tendons and ligaments and connective tissue. Plantar fasciitis is a big flat tendon on the bottom of your foot. And so what you want to do is you take the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, you take our MSM, take our vitamin D3, and for, in the Healthy Bone Joint Pack, you're going to get some CM cream, mix it up real good because the cream goes to the bottom, water comes up to the top every night. So you got to stir it up and put that mix onto the bottom of your foot, and the pain will go away in a couple of minutes and last for a couple of hours. But in 2 weeks' time, you won't need the cream anymore because you'll rebuild that tissue, which is the same tissue you find in tendons, ligaments, cartilage, the disc between the vertebrae, and so forth. Somebody needs to be locked up in a room someplace.
We have one that we don't normally get when we're on a platform like this. And the question is, Dr. Wallach talks about 90 to 120 days. So could you elaborate just a little bit on how long should a person stay on these on the products once they start? And
Okay,
what,
well,
if
yeah,
the,
well,
yeah,
well, once they start, they need to stay on them forever. How long do you need oxygen? Forever. How long you need the 90 essential nutrients? Forever. They're not going to be in your food tomorrow, next week, next year. And so you need to stay on them forever. Otherwise, you're going to heal yourself. And then in 3 to 6 months' time, you'll be back in the hole again.
Right.
Well, it came back. It didn't work. Well, it did work. You stopped taking it. It's
Right.
kind of like, I'm not going to put oil in my car anymore. It's too expensive. Why would I put oil in my car for $3 a quart when I can put dirt from Texas and Oklahoma in there for 10 cents a quart? There's bound to be some oil in it. Well, a crazy person wouldn't do that to their car. Well, my doctor said I can get everything I need by just eating well. Well, that doctor should go to jail for being a serial killer, spelled C-E-R.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mhm.
Wow. So, doctor, we have a question around, eyes are very light sensitive and burning.
Okay, let me go into some eyes thing, okay?
Okay.
I don't know if I've told you this story about, I was giving a lecture up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and the first question after my lecture was, my grandmother is in her 70s, and she's been legally blind for 6 years with macular degeneration. Anything you can do for that? And I said, yeah, I can reverse that. Guy jumps up in the room and says, Wallach, you're a GD liar. I said, well, who are you? He said, well, I'm a medical doctor, surgeon, eye doctor, and I diagnose macular degeneration blindness 100 times a month. There's no way that's reversible. I said, well, let's have a little wager here. He said, you're on. What do you want to bet? I said, okay, if I win, I want you to buy me a steak dinner at Ruth Chris's Steakhouse, buy me a very expensive bottle of red wine from France. I want you to pay for all the supplements of the people in the program for the rest of their life. And I want you to get on the street corner where there's a stoplight, and I want you to hand out a leaflet saying Dr. Wallach was correct and I was dumb and a liar. He said, you're on. And he gave me 27 charts of people. I said, you give me your patients that you've diagnosed. That way there's no argument about the diagnoses. So he gave me 27 patients. He gave me his worst patients, 27 of them, that he had diagnosed as macular degeneration blindness for 6, 8, 10, 12 years. Okay, legally blind. We put them on my program. I had made a sheet, and I talked to each of these patients, and I gave him the sheet and talked with them, so I didn't trust him to give him perfect information, and put them on the supplements. To make a long story short, in 90 days, 25 of the 27 could read 20/20 without glasses. It took 2 more weeks for the other 2 to get there. And guess what? He paid off. The doctor paid off. Now, I attribute all that to God. That's going to be one of our great stories in this new book coming out, The Greatest Stories Ever Told, which is going to be a supplement to the Bible, The Greatest Story Ever Told. Okay? We have millions and millions of healthy, healthy cures. Okay?
Mhm.
Healthy cures, testimonials. Well, yeah, okay, and the Bible is full of them, and so this is following the format of the Bible, and so miracle cures. Okay, I just get breathless when I think about it. We have so many of these stories like this. The Ray McGregor thing where he was in a coma for 8 years, and this story with his doctor and 27 people legally blind. I deal with thousands of people like this every day. I deal with 2 million people a day. I counted up in 50 countries. And I do that through you guys, okay? Because you see, how many people do you see a day through your business, right?
Yeah.
Hundreds, maybe.
Master of duplication.
Yeah, it's a duplication process. And of course, Jesus did that. He had the Bible, and he had how many people? He had 12. Didn't he have 12?
12,
Yes.
yeah.
He had the first network marketing business.
Yep. It's all, yep.
Yeah, a third of us that's living now is in his downline. Yeah.
That we have many friends that are young and in their mid-50s and being diagnosed with osteopenia and osteoporosis. Some have even started.
Oh, I missed that.
To treat it.
No, you went
Can you
south. I
talk a little
didn't
bit
hear anything.
Okay, so many of my friends are young and in their mid-50s, and they've been treated for osteopenia or osteoporosis.
Okay, now how are they treated? How are they treated?
They started taking shots for it.
Of what?
That's a good question. I don't-
Probably cortisone shots,
Okay.
for the cartilage and all that kind of stuff because
Is
of
this the beautiful Linda?
yes, it
That's our Linda.
Okay. Oh yeah, well, she's the co-author of this new book, The Greatest Stories Ever Told.
Dr. Wallach,
Millions of miracle testimonies. Yeah, okay, go ahead. What's the question?
the shots are like that. They used to give some Fosamax and stuff like that. Now there's a new version. I don't know what the shot is, but it's something on the order of the Fosamax that used to
Okay.
be what they.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you have to appreciate that all of these things are looking to relieve pain, inflammation, and improve mobility, which makes the patient happy. And then in 2 years' time, they're going to give you a double knee replacement for $50,000 per knee. If you follow God's recipe, in which you get off all the bad foods, the fried foods, the processed meats, the oils, the glutens, wheat, brown rice, oats, and sugar, get on the healthy bone and joint pack, the MSM and vitamin D3, you don't have any other issues, that's where you go. You have other issues like diabetes, you got to add the sweeties and so on, right? But do that, you regrow your bone because you're taking God's equipment there, you're taking God's recipe, okay? And your body will heal given God's recipe because he's given you the equipment to do that. Taking cortisone will relieve the symptoms, which makes the patient initially happy for months or years, but then you're going to go to surgery, but that's okay because you have insurance.
Yep.
Well, insurance was what caused the doctors to be the way they are because they milk your insurance company every which way they can. People say, you're kind of skeptical, Wallach. Well, you give me 10 patients with the same disease, you give a doctor the same patients, and I'll treat them my way and let him treat them his way, and let's see whose patients do what. Okay, I keep offering that. Let's do that. But I never get any doctors take me up on it.
So for osteoporosis or osteopenia, what would you recommend?
Healthy bone and joint pack, MSM, vitamin D3, and none of the bad foods.
There you go. All right.
Doc, Doc, we got a question here about, it seems to be a pandemic of obesity here in America, where 40, 50, 60 years ago, we didn't see the weight gain like we do now.
Yes. Okay. Now, yeah, up until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, if you wanted to see a fat person, you had to go to the carnival and the circus. Hubba, 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 come see the fat lady. Because everybody in America was skinny because they're eating wood ashes, getting minerals. Now, one of the symptoms of a mineral deficiency is a behavior called pica. You can look that up in any dictionary, Webster's dictionary, okay? You can look that up in any dictionary, pica, P-I-C-A. It's an unabated craving. You just eat and eat and eat and eat. And within a couple of years after, or actually in some cases, 6 months to a year, people were feeling pretty funky after they were switched over to electricity. No more wood ashes from their wood stoves in the garden. And grandma used to eat wood ashes and throw them in the garden and so forth. That was one of my jobs as a kid, was to put the wood ashes in the garden. And people were saying to their doctors, I'm feeling kind of funky here. Should I take any vitamins and minerals? The doctor said, no, just eat well, you get everything you need. And so people began to gain weight because they're getting this pica because they're minerally deficient now because they're not getting wood ashes and they're eating, okay, and they're eating, they're gaining weight, and they're going to the doctor saying, I need to do something here. I'm 50 pounds overweight here. I'm going to lose my job. And they say, well, what's happening here is you're eating too much animal fat. You're eating too much animal fat. You must stop eating animal fat. Eat more whole grains. Half of you out there have had your doctor tell you eat more whole grains, right?
Yep.
Well, when you eat more whole grains, it's like being in the feedlot like a steer. You gain weight. And you gain weight. And that's why we got so many fat people, because they're eating whole grains and not supplementing. If everybody gets, and if you're already 100 pounds overweight, you need to take 2 of our 3 meals a day of our, let's see here, our keto caramel diet, either the shake or the bar, 2 of your 3 meals a day. And, subdue your 3rd meal and take your 90 essential nutrients appropriate for body weight. And you'll lose a half a pound, 2 pounds a day, but you got to stay on the 90 essential nutrients so you won't gain the weight back. Okay, when you get to where you want to be. Gaining weight is due to a nutritional deficiency and cause you to have that pica behavior, which forces you to eat. And doctors say eat more whole grains. That's how they get steers fat to go to the market. Eat more whole grains. They were just fattening you for the surgery.
Yep.
They're going to do bypass. They're going to do a stomach bypass because you're overweight. And all you have to do is get on the keto caramel diet and supplement with the 90 essential nutrients and get off of gluten, wheat, bran, and oats. And you're going to lose 2 pounds a day. And in 3 months time, you'll lose 100, 150, 200 pounds.
Yep.
Why would you want to have surgery?
Good question.
Well, my doctor says insurance pays for it. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Doc, we've got several questions around this one tonight, and it's basically, if someone is diagnosed with cancer, what should they do?
Okay. Well, first thing they should do is change doctors, because their doctor is the reason why they got cancer, because they've been listening to the doctor. Okay. What they need to do is get rid of all the bad stuff. No fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, bran, and oats. Take the 90 essential nutrients. If they have a history of cancer in their family, it's not a genetic thing, but it's a cultural thing. You're going to eat the same way your mom and dad and your grandma and grandpa did. And so what you want to do is get rid of all the bad foods and take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. Take some Fucoid Z, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. Take our Ocean's Gold, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight for all these weird minerals from the ocean, from the ocean's algae and stuff. It supports your immune system. You also want to take Cell Shield RTQ. And the odds of you getting cancer is very slim. If you get cancer, Coretta Scott King, she was supposed to die in weeks when I met her. Pastor Creflo Dollar introduced me to her. And she was supposed to die. And she lived 3 more years, and she was able to march on Martin Luther King Day 3 times after I rebuilt her using our supplement program after doctors said she only had weeks to live.
Right.
Okay. And so this is very simple stuff. God has given us the equipment to rebuild ourselves, to maintain ourselves. But you have to follow his recipe. Okay. This is not difficult. And people and you pointed out here, Raymond, at the beginning, you said, you're looking around and people in the Youngevity business, we have such a low rate of people getting the pandemic virus. We have such a low rate of people dying if they get the virus because they're getting the 90 essential nutrients, which supports their immune system, their white blood cells, their antibodies, their red blood cells and platelets, which go and kill and eat the viruses. That's why little kids 3 years old don't die when they get the pandemic virus, because their bone marrow is still alive and can still kill and eat the virus.
Yep.
See, doctors never say anything about that. All we got was 27 million infected and 500,000 dead.
Mhm.
Yep. Doc, there's a young lady who's suffering with MS for many years. She's 60. She weighs about 148 pounds. She has difficult walking. And of course, we know that she needs, of course, not to eat any of the bad foods. And what else would you recommend?
We have to remember that 75% of your brain weight is cholesterol. She cannot be on any of the drugs to lower cholesterol, no statin drugs. I want her to eat 3 eggs twice a day with soft yolks. Hard-boiled eggs won't count. It's got to be soft yolks, soft boiled, soft poached, soft scrambled with butter. 3 eggs twice a day because I want her to rebuild her brain. I want her to have, and she weighs 140 pounds, you said?
148.
148, okay. I want her to have 1 Healthy Brain and Heart Pack per month. I want her to get another bottle of Arsaline, not from Walgreens, but Arsaline with the 5 cofactors. 1 bottle of Slim comes with the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. So I want her to take 3 of those twice a day, in addition to half a dose of everything else twice a day. I want her to take the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets, 3 of those twice a day, get good circulation into the brain in case she's got blood, blood artery damage in her brain. And then I also want her to take our de-stress capsules, 3 of those twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. Our Ultimate Niacin Plus, 1 of those twice a day. And then I want her to take our Fucoid Z, 3 of those twice a day, and our Ocean's Gold 3 twice a day. And then call us every couple of weeks because MS goes away. Things like Parkinson's disease goes away. Lou Gehrig's disease goes away. ALS goes away. They all go away because they're all just nutritional deficiencies, and doctors want you to believe they're autoimmune diseases, and they give you cortisone, you feel better for a while, and then you die. But if you get rid of the bad foods, you take your nutrients,
Right.
All right.
and eat your eggs, and stay away from the bad foods. Stay away from statin drugs. So you don't want to lower your cholesterol. You want high cholesterol because you'll get erectile dysfunction if you're a guy without cholesterol, because Cholesterol makes up 95% of testosterone and 95% of estrogen. Women go through menopause in their 20s when they're eating hard-boiled eggs and taking statin drugs, being a vegetarian. Well, I can't have milk. What does the Bible say about the land flowing with milk and honey?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the first food that all vertebrate mammals eat?
Milk.
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 Okay. What is the first food that all animals and birds and vertebrates that are developed in eggs? What's the first food they eat?
Cholesterol. And it,
Cholesterol, egg yolks.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, Doc, we're going to start wrapping it up here, but one of the things that we don't talk about a lot, and that is, even before the pandemic, we have such an uptick in young people dying now, where it used to be where, you know, we lived to be, you know, ripe old ages. Now, there are some exceptions to that, but the CDC says now that if you are around 50 years of age, I think that's the age, and you have children, that there's a high chance that you will outlive your child or your children these days. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, that's because they're eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats every meal and every snack. They're not supplementing with any vitamins, minerals. And that's why. I want you to think about it. Right now, this just came out a couple of weeks ago. The CDC came out and said the average lifespan of a trauma surgeon, an emergency room surgeon, is 57. The average lifespan of a pediatrician, a gynecologist, and a gynecologist, an OBGYN, and a pediatrician is 76. Well, why do these other physicians live 20 years longer than a trauma room surgeon? That's because a trauma room surgeon, gets off at 2:00 in the morning dealing with all these terrible accidents and everything, and he'll stop at a bar on the way home and have a couple of shots of whiskey made from rye or wheat or barley or rye or oats or something like that, or beer. And then he'll, stop at Waffle House and have some pancakes on the way home. And then he'll have another shot of whiskey before he goes to bed. He'll have pancakes when he wakes up in the morning. He'll eat flour tortillas. That's why he dies at 56. Now, the gynecologist, the OBGYNs and the pediatricians are getting vitamin mineral samples from vitamin mineral companies to give to their patients, their OBGYN patients, because of the pregnancies, prenatal vitamins, and also kids, the kiddie vitamins. But they don't give them to their patients because they're cheap. They take them themselves. They're taking the vitamins and minerals. That's why they live to be 76. And the trauma room doctors are just eating gluten and not taking vitamins and minerals. And that's why they die at 57.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to take a few more, and then we'll be wrapping up. We're going to have a few more testimonials, and then we will, any other questions after Doc has to leave right at the top of the hour. Right after he gets done here, he goes and he's doing another call.
I'm doing a Zoom to the Philippines.
There you go.
Yeah.
Talk about energy. Got that. Got it going. So I've never had this question asked before. It says, is there anything that women who cannot have children, is there anything for them? Is there anything that you can perhaps help them with?
Oh, absolutely. Now, assuming they have all the equipment, they've got a uterus, they got ovaries, they have all the equipment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're cycling. They just can't get pregnant. Well, first thing they have to do is find a good guy, get married, okay? Make sure he is getting off of all the gluten and all the statin drugs, eating 3 eggs twice a day with soft yolks, take the 90 essential nutrients. He needs to be taking the Zera test, which gives his fertility cells in his testicles what they need to make testosterone and sperm. And then the lady needs to do the same thing, except instead of taking Zera test, she needs to take Zera Fem. Take 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight, because it's going to give her what she needs to make her ovaries make estrogen and progesterone. But she also needs to eat 3 eggs twice a day and stay away from statin drugs. And watch out, because you will get pregnant. I get more women pregnant than any other man in history. By the thousands every day all over the world.
There you go, guys. So, all right.
Yeehaw!
And guys,
You're the man, Doc. You're the man.
You're going to have many other questions, guys. So you want to make sure you get with the person that invited you on this call tonight, and they can help you to get the right protocol for you. And there are other questions in the chat that we will definitely get the answers for you if you put in your phone number or an email address. If you did not do that, we won't be able to get back with you. So, but I do you have one other question?
Yeah, rest assured, guys, if you get us the emails, get us the questions, Dr. Wallach will spend time with us. We'll give him a call. He'll spend time with us and answer the questions for you. So please make sure, because there's no way possible he can answer every question from everybody. So we've been doing this for years, and we kind of know what he's going to say before.
Well, you're duplicating. You're saying what I would say. You're great students, just like all the followers of Jesus and all the followers of God. If we pass on his message, you can't go wrong.
Right.
Yep. And Doctor, someone's asking this question, and this we'll wrap it up. What time is it? 8:40. Okay. So it says, my wife has issues with ulcers for many years. They're on a plant-based diet. And are there supplements that can help his wife?
Okay, I back up a little bit. She has arthritis. Is that correct? Is that what he said?
No, she has ulcers.
Oh, ulcers. Okay, well, gastric ulcers can be caused by an infection, okay, with a bug. Okay, and there's a tetracycline antibodies will kill that bug. And so the diagnosis may not be correct. How old is this woman? Do we know?
We don't. We do not know.
You need to hang up your phone. Okay. Okay. Now you have to appreciate that people who go through this blindness kind of thing, is that right? Blindness? Am I missing something here? Hello?
It just says my wife. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. I couldn't hear you.
Well, I put it on mute because he had to go hang up the phone. So
Okay, tell me her story again.
My wife has issues with ulcers.
Oh, ulcers. Okay. Now, we need to ask her, does she have ringing in her ears? Does she have tinnitus? Does she have balance problems? Does she have atrial fibrillation? Okay. Now, the reason I'm asking that, if you get a squeezing of the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, you get a disease called gastroparesis. It's an extreme pain in the stomach because that vagus nerve goes all the way down and deals with the stomach. I have to ask if she has hiccups because it also causes hiccups and COPD. Well, what they'll do is they'll put a tube down her throat and they'll look around in there and they say, well, we can't find anything, but you may have an ulcer. That's why you have all that pain. No, it's the skull squeezing that 10th cranial nerve, okay? And it's called gastroparesis. And so look up, ask Siri to tell you what gastroparesis is and look it up in the Merck manual, gastroparesis, and it'll tell you, every freshman medical student should know what that is. But doctors are going to milk this family because they have insurance and give her pain relievers and all that kind of stuff. And eventually they'll do a bypass surgery and all that stuff. When really it's just osteoporosis of the skull squeezing the 10th cranial nerve. So we need more information to make that diagnosis, but that's the direction I would go. Because if it's a true ulcer, you can cure it in a couple of days with an antibiotic. It's caused by, an infection with a bug, gastric ulcers. But when you have gastroparesis, you got extreme stomach pain, and you don't have ulcers, invariably it's a squeezing of the 10th cranial nerve by osteoporosis of the skull. And you need to make sure that this couple gets a hold of the book called It's All in Your Head, 25 different diseases you get from osteoporosis of the skull. How many of you have had your doctor sit down and talk with you about osteoporosis of the skull? None.
None. Nope. Nope. Not at all. Not at all. So we have so many other questions, but there's one, and this question is, this person went to the doctor, took the stress test, and thought it was doing just fine, but it told him that he would need to potentially have some stents put in. So he's just reaching out saying, what can I do?
Okay. Okay. How much, do we know how much this person weighs?
160 pounds.
160 pounds. The first thing he needs to do is ask the doctor how many kids he has in college and is it tuition due at this point. Okay. Now at 160 pounds, this person needs to get off all the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, brown, rye, and oats. Needs to be on 2 healthy brain and heart packs per month, a full dose of everything twice a day, and 3 of the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets 3 times a day, 3 bottles a month, 3 at breakfast, 3 at lunch, 3 at dinner time. It'll support healthy blood pressure, healthy blood flow through blocked arteries. If they change the diet, your body will clean up those arteries. If you have blocked arteries in the coronary arteries, that'll all clean up and go away. Okay, and if you're on statin drugs, get off the statin drugs and go get another opinion from another doctor someplace else. You don't have to get all the other tests again. Just take the test from the first one and have them give you advice. That'll buy you some time, and immediately box up all the bad foods and give them to your doctor, and go to the midnight grocery tonight and buy all the good foods, and you can order your products first thing in the morning, and you want to ship it fast, okay, and get on auto ship so you don't forget to order. It takes too long to get it, but you want it shipped overnight, pay a little bit of extra, and it will save your life, because you don't want to have heart surgery when this pandemic virus and everybody in the hospital's got pandemic. You got to be out of your mind.
So guys, that's why we get so excited when we have Dr. Wallach on all of the calls that he's on. You can never, ever get too tired of him. So again, we are simply here to stop the human suffering physically, emotionally, and financially. So we're going to hear from a few more people around the testimonials, because we know that Doc has to leave. But guys, thank him, just let him know how much you appreciate him by, you can put it in the chat, but at this particular moment, guys, you can say goodbye to Dr. Wallach, and we love him dearly.
Thank you so much. We love you guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Wallach.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dr. Wallach. We love you.
Dr. Wallach.
Dr. Wallach.
Thank you.
Hoorah.
I'm back home.
Thank you,
Dr. Wallach.
Appreciate you, Doc.
On the bomb.com.
Thank you, Dan. Great. Thank you, Dr. Wallach.
Dr. Wallach.
That's Doc.
Love you, Doc.
Dr. Wallach.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wallach. Good
information.
Amazing.
Thank you, Doc.
Dr. Wallace. Dr. Wallace.
Dr. Wallace.
Brilliant.
Dr. Wallace, you the best.
All right,
You
so
the best.
we wrap it up,
A
guys.
pleasant night to everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys, we're not done yet. So if we can, definitely want to hear from a few people to share their stories with you. Then if you should have.
I'll get you on and listen to this.
So, Al, would you
Oh,
please
Cecilia Andrews.
share your story with us?
Oh, yes.
Guys, please.
Guys, can you mute? Make sure we get the folks muted again.
Good night.
All right, Al, you're up.
Okay, good. I'm so hyped up. Dr. Wallach is on. He covered everything. But in March of 2007, I was diagnosed with having diabetes, and immediately from the doctor's office, I went to the hospital, and my blood sugar was around 437. Somewhere along in there. And I think I stayed in the hospital about 3 weeks. They finally let me out. They got it after about a week or two. It wouldn't go down. I stayed up there. So after I got out, I had to go to the pharmacies and get all this information that they had. I had to have. Some hypodermic needles, insulin, metformin, and they told me I'm gonna be on this till the rest of my life. And knowing me, I didn't like sticking myself with no needle. That's like, when you drug addict, you just monkey on your back, and I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life. And I had no way of knowing anything what was going on, so I'm stuck with it. And so I was teaching a class in Oklahoma City for the Federal Aviation Administration, and one of the guys in my class, we got to talking, and he says, I told him I had diabetes and I hated sticking myself with this needle because everywhere I go, I got to have this insulin on ice. So if I fly on the airplane, I got to carry it with me. If I'm in my car, I got to carry everywhere I go, and I'm all over the U.S. So this is terrible. And he told me, says, hey, guy, says, if you want to get off of that, you can wean yourself right off. I said, really? Yeah. All right. I said, well, what do I have to do? He said, well, you can take these products and just do what the doctor tells you. Just when they get down to a certain amount, you get your blood sugar at a certain level, you don't have to take it. And I said, this reminds what the doctor said. I said, okay, when can I get it? He said, well, I was in Oklahoma City. My home's in Pflugerville, Texas. And if I'm going to buy something, it's going to send it to Pflugerville. And I'm going to, later on that week, when I finish this class, I'm going to Tennessee and have a ball over there in Memphis, Tennessee. And so it just so happened he lived in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I had to go through Fort Smith in order to get to Tennessee. So I met him at the McDonald's, and he told me what to do. I got a blood sugar pack, but actually I got a bone and joint pack along with the sweeties. And he told me what to take, how to take it, and I did my best, man. You don't want to stick yourself with a needle. Really, it hurts. It's bad enough trying to prick your finger, but the needle everywhere, for the rest of your life, you move by that. So after about, I did what he told me to do, in about, I'm saying to me, like 3 weeks, a month, by the time I got back home. And my blood sugar is down to 100 and sometimes down to 90, up and down, right along in there. So I didn't have to take that junk anymore. So I just put it on the shelf and kept going with the sweeties and the bone and joint pack that just helped me all over. So I just don't take no prescription drugs after that. Everything is just great.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Way to go. Big Al, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Anytime.
Jan, all right. Thank you. Jan, would you please share with us your story? I'm not sure if she's there.
Where are you, Jan?
Well,
I'm here.
There she goes.
Can you hear me?
We can. Yes.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I initially got started for financial reasons and not necessarily for health reasons. I was working for a major oil and gas company and making very good money, but I was miserable. I was doing the job of about 5 people, and every other year the company was reorganizing, right-sizing, downsizing, capsizing, whatever you want to call it, But the bottom line is they were constantly eliminating jobs, and my entire financial stability was tied to my job. So I started to think that it would be a good idea if I had a plan B where I could have more control over my financial future. So this industry just made sense to me. I was always interested in natural or alternative health and would much rather restore and maintain my health naturally as opposed to taking prescription drugs that all have unhealthy side effects. So when family friends told me that I could get paid to do something that I already do naturally, I was sold. The only question I had was, do these products really work? So at the time I was suffering with very low energy and would fall asleep at work in meetings, and my body just felt lifeless. I tried different vitamins, which gave me a little relief. But then I got introduced to fucoitin, which is the main ingredient found in our Z-radical, and I introduced that into my diet. And the first thing I noticed was I got my energy back. I stopped falling asleep in meetings at work, and I felt like a normal human being again. So before taking fucoitin, I was also suffering with chronic sinusitis. I had to give up all dairy foods, no milk, no butter, no eggs, no ice cream, no cheese, because any dairy would cause mucus in my body, leading to sinus infections. but about 45 days into taking the product, I noticed that I wasn't experiencing any sinus symptoms, and I'm about 99% sinus free today, and I can eat all the dairy foods that I want with no problems again. Financially, the business has been wonderful for me. Financially, through sharing with others, I pay for my products using the money that I generate from my business so that it doesn't have to come out of my household budget. I also have extra money left over for things I like to do, like shopping and getting my hair done and nails and pedicures and manicures. And I've also traveled all over the world, and I would never would have been able to do that had it not been for the money I earn in this business. But I was not taking the product as recommended. You're supposed to take.
You're muted, Jan.
Oh, don't know what happened, but Jan was muted. Hold on. Jan, can you unmute yourself?
Wasn't me.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened. So I was not taking the recommended 4 ounces of Z-Radical. I was only taking 1 ounce per day. So later I began experiencing symptoms consistent with the beginning stages of Parkinson's disease, such as involuntary tremors and also leg and feet stiffness. The potential Parkinson's diagnosis beat me into submission, and I made a conscious decision from that day forward to take at least 4 ounces of Z-Radical every day. And I also added the 90 nutrients found in the Healthy Body Start Pack. And so I'm now happy to report that I no longer have the tremors. I no longer have the leg stiffness, so no Parkinson's disease for me. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right.
All right.
Way to go,
All
Jan.
right. You know, it's amazing, you know, not to have those symptoms anymore and to realize that you got involved because for financial reasons. But through that process, your health has improved, and now you're able to do some things and continue to travel and do other things in life that you choose to do because you got and restored your health. Guys, our health is our greatest wealth. Without a doubt, that's where it all starts.
Yes.
That's where it all starts. So I'm going to
It
ask.
definitely is.
I'm going to ask Lynn if she would to share a story, and then we're going to ask Deb if she would share hers, and we'll be wrapping it up.
Yes, Yolanda, I'd love to. My story started with a bad back. I was seeing a chiropractor for several years, and he said, well, things look like they're getting a little bit worse. I suggest you go get an MRI. So once I did that, my MRI came back, and I had osteoarthritis, spinal stenosis, spinal degeneration, and spinal herniation in almost every level in my lower back. Now we all know with Dr. Wallach, if it's in your lower back, it's my whole back. And he suggests I see a neurosurgeon. So when I went to the neurosurgeon, he did more tests and found out that I had a spondylolisthesis, which is a loose bone in my spinal column. And because that required surgery of a back fusion, which scared me. I was so scared because I had one girlfriend who had the surgery and they pinched her sciatic nerve, and after a second surgery was unsuccessful. So for her, you know, she's hurt for the rest of her life. And then a guy friend of mine had the surgery, and he got an infection in one of the screws, and because of that infection, he died from that infection in an infectious disease hospital, a staph infection. So that was hard for me because I was scared, so I decided to do something alternative, but I didn't know what that alternative was. But laying on the couch one day, I was watching Benny Hinn, and he's a televangelist, which you saw him with Dr. Wallach earlier in the video. And he had Dr. Wallach on for what he had done for his mother. And I was watching it, and Dr. Wallach talked about how if you put the right nutrition in your body will heal itself as God had intended it to. And to me, being a spiritual person, that spoke to me. And I said, this is it. This is what my body needs. So I looked it up online and found out that Raymond and Yolanda were hosting him here in Houston within 2 weeks of when I had seen him on TV. So I went to the show and heard stories like what you've heard today and these amazing stories. I was all on board. I got the Z Radical CEO Family Mega Pack, and I was going to take the whole pack myself. I wasn't going to share with the family because Dr. Wallach says if you got a fire going on, you need a fire hose, not a squirt gun. So I took all the products, and because of that, I was able to get over all of those things that was wrong with me. I'm able to walk, I'm able to run, I'm able to jump. My son actually took me on a trip up to state West Washington, and we summited a mountain. We also went through the Puget Sounds on a kayaking trip, 3-day in the wilderness. And because of that, I'm free. I'm free to go where I want and do where I want, whereas before I was confined to my own home. So with the freedom that I was been able to get, I was cleaning houses for 35 years. And so not only was I given a healthy way to be free, I was also given a financial way to be free. Because of that, I was able to quit cleaning houses. And now this is what I do. I help other people get well. And it's just an amazing life change. Me at 63 years old, you know, people usually my age don't change what they've been doing. But when you do, things happen. I want to thank Dr. Wallach, Raymond, and Yolanda for giving me a new life.
Wow.
Yolanda.
Wow. Wow. What a testimony. Thank you, W2.
And she can jump now.
Yeah, and you look good. 63, I would have never known.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
Wow, but life-changing, health and financial. Just amazing.
Absolutely.
You know, we have something that can absolutely, you heard it from her, change your life. So, you know, yes, this is truly about our health, but we want everyone to understand too that we do want people to know that you can supplement your income. You can save more money. You can give back to your church or charitable organization of choice. You can create a residual income by getting that Z Radical CEO Family Mega Pack, just as Lynn talked about, but you can choose to take it yourself as she did and not share it with anyone. And you don't have to share it with anyone, just get healthy. But then she got smart. She wanted to start sharing with people. And so she started, and then her business began to grow. Now she's got a team of folks that are all out doing the same thing that she is doing. You can do that too. And in doing so, you can get bonuses, and, you know, many bonuses. And if you decide to do something like this, we will show you what those bonuses are. But there's one that I'll talk to you about. Now, as a matter of fact, I'll let Deb Hull talk to you about that car bonus. So Deb, you're now up.
Oh, thank you. What a fabulous call. You know, I get so choked up every time I hear Doc and all these testimonies on your call. And, you know, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I wanted to earn the income that I did with my nursing career and different careers that I've had. And I heard that network marketing was the vehicle to do that. And, you know, I've been in the industry over 2 decades now, but I just recently came aboard with Youngevity about 4.5 years, not even 4 years ago, actually. And I knew that if we had products that worked, that people would stay in the business because you got paid over and over again as you helped. So kind of nursing went hand in hand. And I didn't know about all the bonuses, Yolanda. But one thing I did know is I knew if we found the right products, that my business would last forever. And I did research and I asked everybody in the company, who has the biggest retention rate? And I found out that Raymond and Yolanda Brown and their team had for 3 years. Now I heard it's going into our 4th year. So congratulations, Yolanda and Raymond. And I jumped on board about a year ago on these Thursday night calls, and my business has just continued to grow. And I started out with a $300 car bonus. And since I've been in Youngevity and working in the team and on this call and the Z Radical and Dr. Wallach's products, my car bonus is now $1,000. So, well, $900. So it's been very exciting to be able to drive a vehicle paid for. I've always done that in the companies, but the bonuses weren't as high as they were here. So when you talk about car bonus, Yolanda, You betcha. And I think you and Raymond just got 2 brand new cars too, very nice ones. So, it does pay off. And it's all by helping other people feel better, look younger, live longer, and get wealthier if they choose to work in our company and in this business too. So it's been just life-changing to watch people and watch them grow in health and in wealth. So back to you, and thank you so much for all that you contribute to all of us. We love you.
Well, we love you more and love all of you more.
Thank you, Dad.
And that car bonus is $300 to $2,000, and she's making $1,000.
Now, guys, you don't have to buy a car. That's just they call it a car bonus, but you don't have to buy a car.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So guys, we're going to wrap this up, but we definitely want you to get with the person that invited you on the call. And we want to thank you for spending this time with us and to realize again that the church is the background of every community. And through that, we want to spread the word. And through you, we want to spread the word and to help as many people as we can. Because without your health, I know it's coy, but it's true. You really don't have anything. Your health is your greatest wealth. Raymond?
Yeah, guys, I piggyback off what Yolanda said. I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts on behalf of the Majestic Eagles of Youngevity and all of the honorary Majestic Eagles. We want to thank you for taking the time out to get on this call. Because of you, there's going to be other people that you may even save their lives or their children's lives because you took the time out to be on this call and get the information that you needed, that not only you can help yourself, but help your family and others too. And that's true. That's for real. And so with that, guys, I just want to say that, this pandemic has taught us a lot of things. One of the things that it's taught us, and we talk about this, the team and all the time, that we found out that there's a lot of things we can do without if we had to. The movie theater, the hairdresser, the barbershop, the restaurant. Many of those things that we took for granted. And we found out we can do without them if we had to. But one thing we cannot do without, and that is our health. Once that's gone, it's over. That is the most important thing God has given us, and we take it for granted until something happens. Now, after tonight, guys, you have a choice. You don't have to be sick anymore. And here's what I found out. Even if you do get sick, you don't get as sick, and it doesn't last as long when you nutrify your body. And so on behalf of the Majestic Eagles, thank you guys so much. There's so much more we could say, but I think everybody got a snippet of the picture, and we don't have to be sick anymore. So again, thank you guys, all of you guys. I see some new people I hadn't seen, Christine and Emily and Edline and Doc, what is that? Doc Hill is on here, and a lot of folks that hadn't been on here. So thank you so very much, guys. We'll see you next Thursday, 7:30. Bring some more people, 7:30 Central Standard Time. Come join us so we can help change the world one person at a time. Thank you so much. We love you, and thank you. I see Mrs. Rouse on there. Thank you for coming on and bringing everybody. Everybody, Deb and Betty and Homegirl and Richard and Reginald.
All the co-hosts.
Thanks, Ray and Yolanda. That's awesome.
Thank you so much, Raymond and Yolanda. Awesome. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for all the testimony.
Thanks, Raymond and Yolanda.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Yolanda and Raymond.
Yolanda, Raymond, y'all are great.
Thank you, Raymond and Yolanda. Hey, Andrea.
Thank you for the reminder. Everybody, Ray and Yolanda.
Y'all know we
Thank y'all very much. It's very,
Your
this
health.
was very awesome.
Thank you for
Thank
life.
you everyone for sharing. So incredible.
Blessed night, everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for life.
Yes, yes.
Hello, Mario Joe.
Hello, smooches.
Hey, girl.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, look at Miss Pat looking all fabulous.
I
know, right?
Oh, looking
Take care,
fine,
Ray.
girl. Looking fine.
Great call.
Miss Pat, have a
Hey, thank you,
So
Dr.
beautiful,
Wally.
Yolanda. I love blue
Jordan.
white.
Yes, thank you.
Pat, you look like Pat, you look 20 years younger.
Thank
This is
you.
the meeting after the
Thank
meeting.
you.
Appreciate you,
Those
Ron.
are good colors. Thank you. I'll see you in a
Love
few
it.
minutes.
Great
Oh,
call.
love you all, Raymond and Yolanda. Thanks a lot.
I can't wait.
Yeah, thank
Great
y'all so
call.
much.
And remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's what we do at
That is
Youngevity.
so true.
One
Amen.
team, one dream. Have a blessed night.
Amen.
Bless you, bless you.
That's right.
Have a blessed night, Uncle Ray Ray and Yolanda. We love y'all.
Right.
Yes.
Love you, Raymond. Love you, Yolanda. Appreciate you.
So much love.
Love, love, love.